some past event videos, check out his website, zenbitchlap.com. Okay, and tonight I've chosen page 44, We Agnostics. So the bottom paragraph, and I'll read it. If a mere code of morals or a better philosophy of life were sufficient to overcome alcoholism, many of us would have recovered long ago. But we found that such codes and philosophies did not save us, no matter how much we tried. We could wish to be moral. We could wish to be philosophically comforted. In fact, we could will these things with all of our might, but the needed power wasn't there. Our human resources, as marshaled by the will, were not sufficient. They failed utterly. Lack of power, that was our dilemma. We had to find a power by which we could live, and it had to be a power greater than ourselves, obviously, but where and how were we to find this power? Well, this is what this book is about. Its main object is to enable you to find a power greater than yourself, which will solve your problem. That means we have written a book about which we believe to be spiritual as well as moral, and it means, of course, that we are going to talk about God. Here, difficulty arises with agnostics. Many times we talk to a new man and watch his hope rise as we discuss his alcoholic problems and explain our fellowship. But his face falls when we speak of spiritual matters, especially when we mention God, for we have reopened a subject which our man thought he had neatly evaded or entirely ignored. Okay, that's the reading. Over to you, Paul.
Thanks, Ben. Paul, alcoholic. Nice to see everybody. Yes. The idea, though, of a philosophy that stems out of what the power that's given through recovery can be quite powerful. So it's not, there's nothing wrong with philosophy or anything else. It needs power to sort of enlighten it or to infuse it, and that power we find is found in the admittance of powerlessness and opening up to an unsuspected inner resource through the work of the program and through all the suggestions and the habits and the community and the service. And by doing that, we get introduced to that power, and that power does for us what no human power could do. It solves the problem, as it says there, the problem. Yeah. So to me, the problem is a bondage of self, really. The solution that exasperates that is drinking and drug use, because really, to me, drinking and drug use was a solution to the problem of obsession or bondage of self. I wanted, though maybe quite temporarily, to feel free. And if it cost a jail sentence tomorrow or a broken relationship, it seemed to be worth it. Basically, everything seemed to be worth it. So the alcoholic of my type was willing to pay any consequence tomorrow, not to feel uncomfortable now. And that was basically the dilemma. And so there was a lot of exerting power when I didn't have any, and I got the consequences of that. So you enter recovery. It has nothing to do with, let's see, such codes or philosophies did not save us, of course, because there was no power behind it, because we were occupied by this parasitical nature. So it neuters all the effects that things could bring to us and allow to happen in our lives. It neuters them. And basically the philosophy is used as to deflect from the real problem, or the moral code is a way of hiding the elephant in the room. And things get all jumbled up and mixed up because of how we are and how we start and where we're and what's directing us. And we don't really have a clue in most cases. We got a lot of reasons and rationales, but they don't really hold water. It's like that professor in holes keeps falling into holes. What's the value of the knowledge? So, yeah, like I've spoken a lot of times, over the years about people attempting to sort of replace recovery with Buddhism, and they become drunk Buddhists, quite a lot of them. So this is sort of what he's saying. The dilemma is powerlessness. And for us who've been introduced to this way of life, there's the admittance of powerlessness accesses the power that's greater than self. And then something else starts having an influence in our life. And if we live a simple daily life, staying away from drunk and alcohol a day at a time, and we're not even staying away from it, it's been moved away from us, really. So this power grows, and it becomes that unsuspected resource is the intimate realization of that power working through us in our lives. So, yeah, whatever. Yeah, Bill W. and these folks, they really bent over backwards to make it as approachable as possible, just to get people's foot in the door, because of that resistance and that reluctance. That is quite a phenomenon in the world of disease. Most people who have a disease tend to look for a solution to it. But when we're had by alcoholism, one of its main aspects is a denial and a resistance to a solution. Because when we're looking from the parasite doesn't see the solution as a solution. It sees it as a problem. So it wants to avoid it at all costs. And you can see it when you see the reluctance of people to an inventory process. Though they take inventory of others all day, they're very reluctant to do an inventory of themselves. And why? Why is that? And it's not it's a pattern in the community of recovery. Yeah, people tend to go out around the fourth step and the ninth step, so to speak. So why is that? Because something doesn't want us to go there. Because if you see your role in things, you're going to see something else's role in things. And as soon as you start seeing what you used to call you as something else, the possibility of being free from it becomes available. And that's a huge threat to the parasite, because the parasite needs us more than we need the parasite, obviously. Its whole life is determined on keeping the host sort of in the dark. Yeah, it doesn't want the host to wake up. Definitely. So, yeah. No, I never had I didn't fall into an agnostic category. I had a sense or a feeling of that ideal, like every man and woman may have. And but it was a weird playing God. Even though I believed that something could help me, I don't feel like I deserved it, I think, really. I think that was a real twist of the playing God in the head. It sort of, all the trials and tribulations that fell upon me seemed to be well deserved, really, in a weird, mutated way. I really believed I deserved the shit that happened. And that's a tough one to get out of, because if that which is playing God, it can't get out of that state of playing God. Yeah. So if you say quit playing God to it, it's still playing God. So I felt like I was under, that thing is just a very small statement in the big book, but it's preceded by first, which means it's a paramount idea, which is first, we got to quit playing God. That's an amazing, that could be skipped over easily. It's like not even a real big sentence. But to me, that was the whole, that was an apt description. In hindsight, when I entered recovery, I was just being batted around by something playing God. Yeah. I mean, it was telling me how I was, how they were, how you are, how you will be. And I really felt like I had it coming. I think the the mistakes I made in through the disease were seen as moral. Yeah, that it was bad. that there was volition there, yeah, and that I really needed, I mean, I guess I thought I needed it so much. One, getting run over by a car once wasn't enough. I had to get run over twice. I thought that was a pretty incredible description of the dynamic in the head that was going on. That somebody, once would have been a sufficient, yeah. But to have someone back up over me was a little bit. I thought that was a little bit too much. But I feel the sense of so much self-importance that I was so bad that I deserved all this shit was fucking incredible bondage of self. I mean, that's like a high level of being bound to this thing that's playing God. Really. I mean, shit. So, uh, more and more gets revealed. When you get relief, you see how comprehensive that bondage was, man. It was really, the life was drenched in it. All the pursuits and attempts to get out of it were drenched in it. Being in it was drenched in it. Yeah, it was something else. So I feel the greatest effect of recovery in this event was the shifting of interest and attention from self to life, really, yeah. And that was to others and a lot of other, they could have stated that statement in the third step, which is you lose interest in self, and then there could have been a huge description after what happens with that interest, yeah. But they just said you'll gain interest in others and see what you could contribute to life. They could have went off for pages and pages. What happens when there's a loss of interest in self? That's the monumental shift, yeah. And the way to recognize that is having warnings about self trying to get out of self, yeah, so that you don't get caught in that net of self trying to get out of self, which is just more self. So you recognize the futility of this identification as being the doer, the thinker, the haver, the shaker, the alpha and the omega, yeah. You realize that you're driven more than driving, yeah. Yeah. You're placed in a position of neutrality. You don't arrive there. You don't claw and climb yourself into neutrality. You get established to the ability of enjoying peace of mind. It's not like I worked out 8 hours and now I'm enjoying peace of mind. No, you've outgrown older states and you're in different states. And in these states, you have the ability to enjoy peace of mind. Yeah. It's nothing the old state did to get in shape to be the new state. It was recognizing you're not the old state. That's the beginning of the new state. Yeah. The old state doesn't transform into the new state. That's the same state. Self can't get out of self. Yeah. I've seen it. I've seen the thief start living like the policeman. I've seen it. I've seen the sinner living like a saint. It wasn't that fun. Yeah. It was like having a big stick up one's ass and then pontificating and judging everyone else. That was definitely not the freedom from the bondage of self. That's for sure. Yeah. The solution became a bondage of self. Yeah. Another identity was forged in that mental little fucking oven, and now I was a spiritual person. So thank God there's a possibility of the interest being directed and being shown a new migratory pattern. So it just doesn't keep going back to self, but actually a loss of interest in self and a gaining interest about everything else from the infinite. Yeah. 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 So thank you. Yeah. I think that's it. It's again, that's a very important thing, that the dilemma of powerlessness, yeah. Why is it their dilemma? Because we just don't get it. Yeah, that's the dilemma. It's not powerlessness isn't the dilemma. There's a dilemma around it because we're not admitting it. We don't see it. And then, so when we admit it, it's incredible because it opens up us to power. But the dilemma is we keep exerting power though we're powerless. Yeah. Yeah. That's the dilemma. Yeah. I would like to see that corrected. Yeah. That would work. That would be a huge shift. All right. Because I realize, when I'm exerting power I don't seem to have, I have experiences of frustration and blame and fucking getting pissed off and shit like that. Yeah. And yet, when I admit I'm powerless, I don't experience powerlessness. I experience, uh, power, really. Yeah. So, who would have thunk? Yeah. In the thinking doesn't seem like a path the thinking would take to arrive there. The path of thinking doesn't go that way. Yeah, it doesn't. That's a logic, not from the thought system. That's a logic that we see, that we feel. Yeah, like you have it by giving it away. Yeah, that's a fact in this life of recovery. But how many people in their lives see that as a fact? They don't. But it's a fact in recovery. You have it by giving it away. Yeah. So, yeah, and the other one of the things I don't agree about the book is that you have to have it to give it away. I don't believe so. I believe if you're willing to give it away, you'll have it. I really do. So that's been my experience anyway. All right, thanks.
Great, thank you, Paul. So if anyone's got any questions to ask
I don't even know if I talked about the point, whatever.
on the reading or anything else related to recovery, raise your hand and come in. Okay, Stephen. I'm not able to unmute here.
Yeah, I got you. I'm on, I think, if you can hear me. So Paul, it's been a pleasure to actually hear you. I've been following you on YouTube for a long time, actually. And COVID, I've been working a lot more from home, so I've been able to kind of tune in on my lunch hour once in a while. And I was first introduced to the concept or the idea of Vedanta, non-duality, way back in the late 90s. Really through a yoga practice is how I initially got introduced to it. And through, I think I've even heard you mention Balsikar, and it's always been one of those things that's just kind of been there, and it's kind of been more intense and at times and less intense. And it's been incredibly intense lately. So anyway, it's a pleasure to actually be able to kind of tune in live. I must have always been fascinated by just the title of this chapter, We Agnostics. It's not we agnostics, not to those of us who are agnostic. For those of you who are not agnostic, skip this chapter. It doesn't say that. We agnostics. I always thought just the title of this itself is kind of interesting. But so my question is actually a little bit off that, though. It's when you experience, let's call it this shift. Let's call it a shift in perception. I guess you can describe it a lot of different ways. What has been your experience since that moment with step 6 and 7, character defects? And I'm particularly interested in something that happened to me last week, anger, right? So I'm assuming these things don't disappear. We retain our humanity, right? Someone I'm close to, said something and I snapped and I said something inappropriate back. And I just said, man, it's one of those moments where it's like, where did that come from? Right. Why are these things starting to pop up like that? So, these things I'm assuming don't really go away. But what's been your experience since, right? I'm assuming there's been some kind of a shift or some, a lessening of those things, maybe would be the way to describe it, or maybe not. I don't know. What's been your experience with 6 and 7 type issues after kind of seeing things differently? Let's put it that way. So I'll leave it at that.
Well, let's say there was a seeing things differently, and then there was more 6 and 7 stuff, because more stuff that was noticed was seen as not of me. Yeah, so I would bring that to the through the process of 6 and 7. Yeah, so something would be coming up, or I would hear it from another person at a meeting, and I'd feel a little twinge of recognition, and I would just bring it up. And I feel it's like energy, and then there's an image of the energy, which is the story or whatever, the past experience. And by turning it over to 6 and 7, I'm asking that power just to reconfigure the energy. Yeah. Yeah. So that the energy's there, because it can't be created nor destroyed, but it's appearing in a certain way that's, I don't feel is making me of maximum use to myself or others. Yes. So there's just a simple recognition that this doesn't work, let's say. And so when stuff comes up, I would bring it there. So basically, really, the program after a while became more about 6 and 7 than anything else. Yeah, because more got revealed all the time. And then, of course, you've outgrown a lot of situations, so there's less and less opportunities to use 6 and 7, which is a result of using 6 and 7, really. Because what you're not doesn't have an infinite supply of itself. It really doesn't. It's mostly repetitive of the same old, same old. So once you start taking out, you don't have to take out the 5 miles, you just take out maybe a couple of feet of the basic premise, and then it just doesn't roll that long. Yeah, it doesn't have the momentum to reconfigure. So the old form of the energy is just blowing out of that form, so to speak. Yes. Yeah. So it's basically, it just turns into energy, all energy. So yeah, but for my feeling, just like when I came in, obviously most of us believe the thoughts are ours. Yeah, that we're the thinker of them, or somehow we take our thoughts and we act on them and stuff like that. And when I saw that that a lot of the thoughts were alcoholic thoughts, that was the first. It wasn't a complete, none of these are mine. It was a block of thoughts that were now called alcoholic. And they were easily recognized because I heard a lot of people sharing them. So I figured, how could they be my thoughts if all these people at these meetings have them? So that was a huge shift. Yeah. So I started to see the thinker role in the thoughts more than the thoughts role on the thinker. Yeah, the thinker is a thought, really. So it was yeah, so 6 and 7, I still get I get samples of very strong illustrations of uh unworkable strategies that were the maps that Paul lived by. When Paul, way before it even drank, it just had certain strategies of living that are amazing. It survived, really, because so those things get tweaked every once in a while, and I just bring it to 6 and 7 because this is my formal ritual called recovery. Yeah, so I do it like the book says. Yeah, I'm entirely ready to have this removed or reconfigured, and I ask that power to do it. Yeah, yeah. So yeah, outgrowing. Part of outgrowing is you become more aware of what you were grown into before. Yeah, that's part of the outgrowing. When you leave a system, you really see the system more than when you're in the system. Yeah. So as you're outgrowing it, you'll see a lot of it. And that to me is where 6 and 7 is valuable, incredibly valuable. Because I believe, see, it's incredible. in this story of Paul as an action figure, I was saved by recovery. Yeah. The higher power got me sober, but how I stayed sober was recovery. Yes. The higher power whacked me. I was struck sober, but then it was immediately, in a couple hours later, introduced to a way of life called recovery, which allowed that possibility to extend now for 33 years. Incredible. Yeah. So I have a lot of oomph around recovery. So when I perform recovery rituals, it has a lot of oomph. Yeah. Because there was like, non-duality has its own oomph. Yeah. But in the movie, my experience of being saved by recovery is the most powerful momentum of moving energy in this action figure life. Seriously. So I love living the principles of AA. Yes. So do I need to say maybe 6 and 7? No, but I like to say 6 and 7 because saying 6 and 7 reminds me of all those demonstrations through me and others that I've witnessed. And there's a lot of juice there. Yeah, a lot of juice. So, yeah. So, of course, yeah. The thing is, the amount of weight alcoholism produces isn't in ratio of all of its traits. It has a very limited amount of traits. Yeah, it mutes certain qualities and amplifies other qualities. It doesn't have an infinite array of shit. It has a very limited, but it keeps doing it over and over. Yeah. So once you start seeing it in its diagram form, you don't ever end up moving into its house. Yeah. And having a rent and a mortgage and shit. You're sort of free from it because you see it at its conception in the mind. Yeah. You're not living its manifestations, which is awesome. Yeah. So there's less, as you go to the mind, there's less weight to carry. There's less shit to undo. There's less movement. There's less effort and strain. Yeah. Because it's more on a blueprint level. You see it before it actually gets any kind of weight or scale. Yeah. 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 So the problem resides in the mind. And in the mind, it's just an idea. It's when it manifests and gives us a life. And then, of course, the constant, like when you're out there using, drinking, the oppression of your consequences. Your whole drive during a day is to make it as unreal as possible because it's so fucking real. You have court dates. You've got to do a urinalysis test. Yeah. You can't get the money. You don't have to. It's like fucking unbelievable. It gives a reality to this dreaming like nothing else can do. Yeah. But now you've been relieved of a lot of that, and you can watch its inception before you live its story. Yeah. And if you see its inception, you turn it over through 6 and 7. That's the spirit of recovery. The spirit of recovery is we do not mold our own lives. We give the clay over to the higher power. Yeah. So we see the clay, and there you go. We see the clay in a misshapen form, and that's what I do to 6 and 7. I bring clay that's been misshaped over to 6 and 7, and I let that power reconfigure it. Yeah. Put it to better use than I could. Yeah. So, yeah. But I feel recovery progresses, and we know what it's like to be established in alcoholism. Do we know really what it's like to be established in sobriety? Yes, we do. Lots of us. Yeah. It's a completely different call and response to life. It really is. Yeah. So I feel like I'm more established in sobriety than I ever was established in drug addiction, to tell you the truth. I thought the hole was deeper then, but that was a seemingly so. But the real establishment is rooted in a higher power. That is the fact of this whole event. Yeah, sure. So we agnostics, yeah, because when that which is playing God is introduced to the idea of another God, yeah, we're all in a state of agnosticism there. Yeah, we're in complete doubt about that God because we're in complete faith in the older God. You know, the God of the self. Yeah. There's faith there. Faith is doing something at all times. It's where it's laid or put into that dictates its manifestation. So if faith is in the thought system, you're going to have a lot of anxiety in life. Yeah, you just are. Because your head's going to have a field day making shit up. And you're going to take it seriously. The false evidence is going to be, we're going to be under the habit of seeing false evidence as real. Yeah, and then responding. That to me is slavery, the slavery of self. Now, yeah, we see false evidence as what? False evidence. When we see that, we bring it to 6 and 7. Yeah, yeah. Let what is real appear, not the false evidence appearing real, but we let what is real appear. Yeah. That's the response to false evidence of the head. You let real evidence appear. Yeah. Which hopefully in your life overrides the false evidence. I hope so. Yeah. Yeah. False evidence is sort of funny now. I mean, it's hilarious, really. Where would you get your comedy skits other than false evidence? You couldn't. You would have fucking. That's like the gift that keeps on giving with satire and parody and fucking comedy. It's the false evidence. It's incredible what the head comes up with. I feel bad. I'm gonna die. There's just like, oh, I may feel I'm gonna die. It goes with such assurance. You just lead right to the and therefore I'm gonna die, so fuck it. I'm gonna do this or do so, it's love to see the huffing and puffing and not jump into the house gets blown down, because the house never gets blown down. It's just huffing and puffing. I wish I had that shirt on again, you know. Yeah, the situation is hopeless but not serious. That's the whole feeling of relief from the bondage of self. The head's constantly presenting a hopeless situation and it's not taken seriously. Yeah, that's exactly a beautiful description. Yeah. It's hopeless. All right. Pass me that sandwich. Pass me another piece of pie. It's hopeless. And nothing's going to get better. Fuck it. It's been better all the while. It's never going to get better for years. I'm telling you now, it's not going to get better. All right. Yeah. So, yeah, bro, I hope that helped. I don't know.
Actually, it was very helpful. I appreciate it. Thanks. I guess what this thing that happened last week, it wasn't so much that the thought popped up. It was that I acted on it, and I was like, ugh.
Yeah, it's not you. So, you know, sometimes the not you is easier to take when you see it. Sometimes the not you has a strong memory bank of being you. And
Right.
so then a sign of it signifies it's coming back or something else. Yeah, this is the way it gives its own credence to itself.
Right.
Yeah, yeah. You really are an angry person. This
Right.
whole
Well, that's exactly it. Yeah, that's it.
you see,
Right.
one little demonstration of anger. You see, this is where the faith is fucking really, we have so much faith in the ability of the head to block us off from the sunlight of the spirit. It is not deserved. It's just a fucking misspent faith, really. Yeah? I mean, everyone is so okay with being fucked, but it's a huge surprise when they're unfucked. It blows my mind, really. We're so off balance. Like, we immediately tend to, we'll share at a meeting, oh, everything's great, but I'm still crazy. Don't, I'm not going anywhere. I'm still under the rock. Don't worry. It's just incredible. Yeah. I mean, there's so much. This is why a lot of times the solution is emphasized. There needs to be descriptions of the problem. They need to be clearer, because if the description of the problem isn't clear, there's gonna be a real mutated idea of the solution. I'm serious. The solution is going to be more impossible than the problem ever will be. The problem will always be possible, even when the solution's there, but the solution will never be there when the problem is. Yes, it's way, way off. Don't you think? It's incredible. So this is fundamental. This is fundamental, like the world is round or flat. It's like that type of fundamental. Yeah, the interpretive life is very, very biased. Yeah. Like, if you're feeling good, you get worried that you won't be in 5 minutes. If you feel like you may be a little bit off, you think it's a lifelong depression starting. There's no balance there. There's none. So it'd be very important to see what is the look, how does it look when there's trusting the finite? Yeah, to be clear about that, because in most cases that's the primary condition. We're trusting the finite instead of the infinite. Definitely, not what we are, but what we're not is completely trusting the finite. Yeah. So we have to see that which we take ourselves to be, we're not, because you're not going to go in there as it and change it sufficiently. It's not going to work. Yeah. The system doesn't have any intention of really radicalizing the system. It doesn't. Yeah. It's there to reinforce the system. So we have to see it as other in a way, to recognize the possibilities that are available, I feel. Yeah. The possibility of, hey, the problem does not exist as us. Not the problem does not exist for us, but the problem does not exist as us. That's a very clear level, my feeling. Yeah. So 6 and 7 is just part and parcel of that. You recognize something coming up that's not a product of you, and you turn it over to your supervisor now, the higher power. Yeah. Yeah. Something entered the building. Turn it over to the security guard. Instead of calling it you suspect it. Yeah. Hey, wait a minute. Yeah. Yeah. It never was you. It never will be you. And it definitely isn't you now. It's just, that's its whole story. It's you. Yeah. When you meet it, you call it me. Yeah. So it walks all over your life, goes in and out of all of your topics, does all its fucking activities, and every time it gets caught, you call it me. Fuck. Is it worried about getting caught? No, not anymore. Because every time it gets caught, you call it you. Yeah, that's the bondage of self. The bondage of self is taking yourself to be self. That's the bondage of self. All of its incredible, flamboyant, or subtle ways of expressing that, we intimately have experiences of. But the real bondage is that we are assuming that we are that called self. Yeah. We believe we are that. Yeah. We also may want to believe we want to get out of that, but then being identified as that, we get caught in the net of self, can't get out of self. Yeah. And you would hope the fish would finally realize it then, hopefully. That self can't get out of self. So maybe the out is not being in self. Yeah, that's the out. What? Yeah, that's the out. The out is not based on escaping from what you think you're in. It's realizing you had never been in. Yeah. That was happening, but you were not in it. There was not a you that was in it, and there's not a you that's going to get out of it. That's the beauty of it. Yeah. That's like what St. Francis says. It's forgetting self, yeah, and then you're reborn. It doesn't say you're reborn. It says this is the requirement: forgetting self, then reborn. Yeah. Loss of interest, then a great interest. Yeah. Loss of interest in something, and then a great interest. It's not just a great interest. First, you got to see where all the interest is going and lose interest in that. Not as that would be interest, but as that, just loss of interest, that's all. And then there's a gaining of interest. Not as that, but just a gaining of interest. And now this problem has sufficiently been dealt with. You've lost interest in self. Fucking hallelujah. Yeah. And seemingly for most of us, life gets better with less of us in it. Like if I wrote the great novel, it'd be Life Without Paul. That's the version I'm in right now. Life Without Paul. He's busily writing the story Life with Paul as I'm living life without Paul. I'm not buying the book, Yeah, so Life Without Paul. So, yeah. So when something comes up like that, you had the experience of anger. It's not yours, yeah? But the anger is used to sort of galvanize an idea of you.
Right.
And you just bring that galvanized idea to the higher power, and it extracts the energy, and it changes the form. Yeah? Yeah. Anger is a huge force if directed well. Man, anger is awesome. It's when it's claimed and used for the self, by the self to support its narrative, it's part of bondage. But anger is an incredible energy surrendered. Yeah. How do most meetings start? Anger. People are pissed at the meeting, so they start a new one. Yeah. Anger can do great things. Yeah. Yeah. The weird thing is, I'll give you an example. I don't usually get pissed off much, yeah? But I have a loyalty to the cat at the house, because the cat isn't a very friendly cat to most people. It's just, he likes me and my girlfriend, pretty much. And so I'm protective of the cat. We get a dog. The dog gets bigger. It's a big dog now. And the dog, if you left the door, so the cat got moved pretty much in our bedroom, the food, and then it has the run of the yard and everything. And so if you left the door open, the dog would come in and eat the cat food. Yeah. And so a couple of times, one time I caught it and I got super pissed. Yeah. And it's the only thing it's ever learned, the dog. That's how it learned. It will not come into the bedroom, even if the door's open. Everything else, trying to give it commands, does what it ever wants. But for some reason, because I blew up, yeah, that anger came out, it really impressed upon that dog, I'm not fucking with that little rule. Yeah. Now, do I want to demonstrate anger all the time? Obviously not. But that anger was used, and a couple other times, the only thing that dog's learned is when I've gotten angry. Yeah, no one else gets angry with it. I'm the only one. So when everyone else is here, I'm invisible, but it relies on me a lot because I'm the one that put it in its place, so to speak. Yeah, with anger, really. Nothing else would have worked. So what's one to do? If it's not your anger, you'll respond appropriately to a situation. Yeah. Sometimes it's fuck. Like they used to have that bumper sticker. If you're not angry, you're not paying attention. I mean, it's how things are. Shit, I would be. I'm angry about shit. Yeah, yeah. So I'm not, but there's anger about it. Yeah. All right. Thanks, bro.
Awesome. Thank you. Thanks. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you. David, you've got your hand up. If you want to come in.
Thank you, Ben. Hi, Paul. It's nice to see
Hey.
you. Hey. I'm going to try not to be long-winded. It's not exactly my strong skill. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. I just wanted to ask, a quick question. When we talked the other day, I think in the non-duality group, I told you that I was sort of, back off a bender. And just a little bit of my history. Like I was into drugs and psychedelics when I was young. I had some experiences. I got involved in non-duality when I was very young, like about 17. I had a teacher. I joined a community when I was 18. That community fell apart because there were abuses of power on behalf of the teacher. And when I returned home about 21, 22, I just became a raging, addict and alcoholic. It was a really bad scene. And had all the consequences, jails, hospitals, numerous times, all that kind of stuff, rehabs. Eventually I got into the program and I had about 6 years sober, worked the 12 steps. I was sponsoring other people. And kind of like you said a little bit, I started having a new life, but I started becoming somebody, I was becoming somebody in a community, and there was some selfing, starting to kind of go on in that again. And eventually, because of that, I was given all the gifts, right? So I met a wife. She's beautiful. She had 2 young boys. I became a stepfather. I got jobs. I got all sort of the gifts of the program, but I moved to a new area. And I felt uncomfortable at the meetings, and I had all this good life and this good thing going. And I got into non-duality, frankly, and spirituality again. And I allowed that to sort of start supplanting, the resourcing I was getting from the meetings. And so eventually I started feeling like that there were philosophical differences. And I don't know if this was the failed system of self or the thinking or the parasite coming back in, but I allowed it to separate me from the meetings. And that worked for a while, but eventually I started working too hard and getting into stimulants and getting into drugs. And they weren't my thing originally, so I didn't think it was going to be a problem. But of course, it led back to hospitals, and so now my new wife and new life get to see me in all my glory, former glory. But I got out of there and I didn't really want to go back to the program. So I started getting involved with these like refuge recovery and these Buddhist recovery programs and all these different things. And I became exactly what you said earlier, basically a Buddhist drunk. Not really supplanting Buddhist, but it wasn't working for me in the same way. And I got a little bit better and everything went a little bit better, but eventually I started thinking I was okay again, and I started drinking again. And that led, it's about 6 to 8 months leading to my last bender, and I just got out of the hospital, like, about a week ago or something like that. And I wanted to ask, because like after all that shit, there's still sort of this like reluctance to get involved with traditional recovery. There's a few things going on. For one, I don't like the old feeling of being like institutionalized. Part of that is back there. For the other thing, like when I found your message, one of the things I loved is you didn't seem to have a problem with any discrepancy sort of fundamentally between non-duality and the program. And that had sort of become like a core thing in me, as I felt like I had to sort of buy into some of these, that I didn't agree with every single thing or every word in the book, and that somehow that was a problem. And I just didn't like, I wanted to know, your opinion on, I mean, how much is that just like the failed system resisting, or do you say, you don't need to?
What is it that you feel about it? You know something. A lot of times we know, but we don't want to know. So,
Yeah.
obviously, if something's not working.
Yeah, I mean, I know the evidence of what I've gotten recently. I know the evidence of what I got with the program, honestly, but I also know something wasn't working in there for me, and I don't know what I don't know if it was just that parasite again trying to make some space.
Yeah. Well, I would say it could or couldn't be. See, there's reluctance, and then there's you that's reluctant. So that would be when the parasite claims it. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes it's not an either or thing. You could go to recovery and then have these other added supplements that make you feel like you're with people that understand, that you're more alike. Yes, you're more like-minded. It's not like a replacement. It's hopefully it will be an amplification of the principles. Yeah. And
Yeah.
a sangha or a group that you feel more comfortable with. Yeah.
Yeah.
But the point is to recognize that uh, those breakouts are happening, yeah, and
Yeah.
so obviously there must be something that's echoing to produce those effects,
Mm.
yeah. So the point is, the idea of surrender isn't contrary to non-duality, yeah. It's of the realm of the action figure. And basically, the action figure, we just talked about it, the idea, the dilemma of powerlessness, uh, there may be still a sense of exerting power where you don't have it. Yeah. And so basically, just admit you're outmatched with all your skillful means and shit like that. And you just got to give up the ghost, so to speak, or admit you can't give up the ghost. And that's the giving up the ghost. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then refuge recovery probably can work. It's based on the same principles. But if it's like I'm not in AA, I'm in refuge recovery, then you've gotten the differences instead of the similarities. And things grow in that world of differences that don't grow in the world of similarities. Yeah. So you have to see what's going on. It's not like, oh, I'm doing this instead of that. No. I was introduced to that and it's grown into this. Yeah. There's nothing. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe I've been lucky. I just don't have that many ideas about uh, comparing and seeing the differences so much. Yeah, I feel non-duality is a fact, and recovery is an event that is sorely needed because there's a huge missing of the fact of non-duality. So the bondage of self is actually an impossible event in the fact of non-duality because there isn't any self. Yes. So basically, recovery is for the dream factory, so to speak. Yeah. Yeah. And you've got to realize, yeah, there's that which is dreaming, and then there's the idea of the dreamt, and the dreamt needs recovery or needs a surrender and stuff. Yeah. So just admit you're outmatched. Yeah. Just, you can, what happens is you've seen it. You've seen it in movements. So there's movements, yeah? Buddhism, let's say. And then the self tries to grok it. Of course, it's the important thing is the self in all the grokking. So then it synthesizes it and hybridizes it. So it's now Buddhism mixed with this and mixed with that. But it's still self. The selfing is like all over the fucking place, yeah? So just see, you know, see, nothing's doing it for you. Yeah, all your practice and shit aren't keeping you out of the hospital.
Yeah.
So tell the truth about that and admit powerlessness. Yeah. What do you think the hospital was? It was an indication. The wisdom is if you can read it. Yeah. If not, it's going to lead to more events until you get it. Yeah. So this is perhaps the easier way is to realize the hospital doesn't mean I have to keep going to the hospital. It can stop here. I can just admit, yeah, that there's something in me that I can't outdo. Yeah.
Yeah.
And call it whatever you want. You can call it your inherent nature, the Buddha nature, the higher power. It doesn't matter. But have some other power being influential other than the thought system. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, one of my favorite parts of your message.
You know, do service or whatever. Service, you know, sometimes we just need a reminder of humility. Yeah. So, you know, going to the hospital is a humbling experience when you think you have things together. Yeah. Hopefully, why is it a humbling experience? To incite humility, so to speak, to realize we're outmatched. Yeah. See, thank God for me. When I saw that newsflash on the screen 33 years ago, I'm fucked. I was convinced thoroughly. Yeah. Yeah. A lot of what I'm not wasn't yet. That had to be subdued through recovery, but my, like they called the innermost, was completely convinced. Yeah. Yes, that I'm not managerial quality. So it's been easy in a way because I know I can't make myself into anything. I can't do it. Yeah. I much rather surrender and let something do for me what I can't do for myself. Yeah. Yeah. And if you don't arrive there, you're going to be occupied by the selfing. Yeah. Because you're going to have a God in a weird way, either way. Either the lower God of self is going to be where the faith is, or in the infinite. Yeah. I think you can get a pretty good clarity about there's still faith in the finite, and just admit that. Yeah. Admit it. And you'll know the tree by its fruits. If you don't go to the hospital in a while and you're not fucking drinking up a storm and shit, something's working. Yeah. And just allow it to work. Clean up the mess, make amends, do exactly what we do in recovery. Yeah. Make an amend and say, hey, you know, for all intents and purposes, I'm declaring that I do not want to do this to any other person in this life. Yeah. And ask for the power to, you know, fulfill that thing. To me, that's what an amend is. Yeah. If I'm relying on self, I can't honestly make that because self has no intention of changing its ways. Yeah. But when I'm relying on the infinite, I can say that with honesty and truth, that I am willing not to do what I seem to have done to you to anyone else. I declared that many times this life. And there was weight behind it because I wasn't speaking from the self. I wasn't. I was speaking from trusting the infinite. Yeah. And some of my amends, I've never had to make amends for them. Yeah. I carried through. Something changed me sufficiently that I didn't do to people what I used to do to people. Yeah. Hallelujah. So, yeah. Yeah, just stay in touch with us or whatever. And, yeah. From this day on, yeah. The third step is a beautiful step to say, yeah. The third and the seventh step prayer are beautiful, yeah. Take the good and the bad of me, put it to good, better use, yeah. Yeah. And then get the support you need, and be supportive of others that need support, yeah. Play your role in the agenda of AA, which is to practice these principles in all our affairs and to help other people achieve sobriety. Yeah? That's not a heavy yoke to bear. It's a beautiful way of life to be available to others. Yeah? Being of service doesn't mean I'm doing service all day, but I'm of service. Yeah, I'm available. Yeah. Yeah. So, all right, my friend. Thank you. Thank you for
Appreciate
sharing.
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for your sharing. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I like what well, it sums up for me as well, describing it as being struck sober. Someone where I live who's just had another relapse, and they're not the reason I chose the reading. It is the God aspect or whatever that is prejudice towards in AA. So it's kind of baffling for me. I've just been I was in AA for maybe 9 months, and then suddenly the obsession just went, and it's like it's just a bit baffling just seeing this guy. Maybe didn't want it, or you can't get it. Yeah, so I was just trying to maybe understand more the surrender, kind of how that even comes about. But yeah, a lot of what's been said is kind of
Well, sometimes don't use the condition you're in to worry about other conditions. Just stay in the condition, yeah? You know? Yeah. Just feel into it. I've lost a lot of interest in knowing what's going on. I just don't care. Yeah. I just don't. I just, I meet the day. I don't need an introduction to the day. I meet the day. Here, things happen. Yeah. Nothing of great note goes on. Yeah. There's a availability, so I can see the light in the animals and shit. I can, yeah. But a lot of people, sometimes, in Hinduism, they talk about these deep mental grooves and they call them samskaras, yeah? So deep mental grooves, what is alcoholism but a deep mental groove? The problem resides in the mind, that falls under the term mental. And samskara, you'll get relief and then you'll go back out. You would say that's a stubborn, deep mental groove, so to speak, yeah? So in a way, the destiny of that action figure is to go. Their sobriety may not be uninterrupted. Yeah, their sobriety may have a lot of flare-ups where the thing, takes over the stage again, and then has to be. Yes, others, they get struck sober, the battle is over. Yeah, they're not they're not fighting much, and yeah, there's this event that's caused by things we can't see can take its own course. It can look any way it wants. Yeah. The beautiful thing about recovery, sort of like a statement in the Course in Miracles says there are mistakes but no sins. So everything can be corrected. Yeah, because everything is a mistake. In other words, a misperception or something. So no matter how many times you leave, you can always come back to recovery unless it's too much damage has occurred, where the brain is wet or something. But basically, and then you could still come back and have some cookies and coffee and friendship and shit like that. So, yeah, there's no uniform for recovery, yeah? People that going in and out are part of it. People that stay are part of it. People that don't get it are part of it. People that get it are part of it. Yes, it's a very loose-knit little event in some ways. So thank God we don't have any testing exams and shit like that, or pay scales. Yeah, just we have a sobriety today, hopefully. Yeah, and if you don't, there's a hope that you can. Is also available. Yeah, so maybe the best you can do is it's not going to be as bad as it was yesterday. That's a possibility today at meetings. Yeah, so I've seen a lot of people who go out after 20 years and stuff. I used to. I haven't been going to live meetings much here yet. But and usually most of them, it was a huge surprise. Something just sort of weaseled in, worked its little thing, led them to a fuck it or a possibility that hadn't been entertained for years, and then they drink, and then they think it's successful because nothing bad happens for a while, and then that one time they drink in this the sequence of successful drinking, the craving appears and the obsession kicks up more, the volume, and they're completely caught by surprise. They had forgotten how it was, which is hard. It's hard to remember how it was. You know, it's a living fucking bondage. I can say I was fucked up for years, but it wasn't like living being fucked up for years. It doesn't even get close to how it feels. So they get caught, and then I hear them at a meeting and they can't believe the craving is again. They thought that was all long gone, and now they just can't, they just want to keep drinking. They didn't have that for years, and they didn't expect it. They had forgotten it, really, because they can't capture it with memory, and they got caught by surprise. And now they fucking want to drink while they're sitting at the meeting. Oh, yeah, this is, hey, you know, we're on a game board that we can see, but a lot of elements of the game are not noticeable. Yeah, there's a lot of powers and forces going on to move that pawn to the next square. Yeah, and it ain't the pawn that's moving it. That's for sure. So the idea of why from a limited system doesn't, it's not a big win for me, because even if it does, even if it thinks it knows, it doesn't translate to too much power, really. So, yeah. Understand alcoholism, not as a personal experience, but as a possibility, and recognize what fuels it, reinforces it, what its basis is, and then realize deeply you're outmatched because you're thinking about alcoholism from alcoholism, really, usually. So there's a point of, hey, I don't have the ability to deal with this. Hallelujah, thank God. Yeah. And then you have the ability to deal with it. That's what happens. I don't think I had problem with drinking. I had problem with sober living. I didn't like having uncontrolled feelings dominate my day. I felt afraid of that. So being loaded all day, when a girl broke up with me and then broke up with me when I was loaded, it was totally different because I already had a feeling when I was loaded. So the feeling that she incited didn't have enough to pierce my heart because I was fucking loaded. And I found a security in being fucked up. I did. To what could happen to me during a day. I said, I better be the one who throws the first punch, so I'm going to get myself fucked up before you fuck me up, basically. And what happened? I made a deal with the devil, and the devil became me, so to speak. There you go. Now it's not. Never was, never will be. Yeah. So. Hey, thanks. Anyone else? We got any other questions, Ben?
It doesn't look like it. There's no raised hands.
Well, we can say goodbye, eh?
Okay.
If you want.
Yeah.
Let's see. Ben, nice to meet you, bro. Hey, and nice, I've met you before. I missed a little of what you said because of the volume, but quality, but I get you very much. So it's very nice to meet you. Yeah. Yeah. Rule 62 is going to be very dominant in most of our lives. Forget the first 61. Rule 62, don't take yourself so seriously. What about the 61 rules? They bypass them. We just get to Rule 62. All right, Kerry, nice to see you, man. Yeah, is this your place in Hawaii?
So here's the deal. No, I'm renting this place. I just want to say a couple things quick. It's Judith's birthday today. We slept in a tent last night, and I'm renting this place. But life is good. I mean, I love these talks. The questions have kind of evaporated, but the living keeps going on. I love coming here, and I love seeing everybody. And no, we're building a place, Paul. So it's starting. Yeah, they're there. They were there yesterday building, and today they're building the first little house. So you're welcome as soon as things get going. And thanks again.
Oh, great, great. We're gonna have a new compound, Zen Bitch Slap. High walls, fucking barbed wire on the top, secret handshake to get in. Everyone will be welcome. All right, well, let me see. We got Ben and Kerry. PK from New York. Nice to see you, bro. A true Long Islander. We got Tom. Nice to see you, Tom. Is this the Tom that I never see before? Tom has appeared.
Yeah, me talking about?
I thought you were a color swatch. Now you're.
No,
There's a
I was
person.
here a few times. It's not my first. I was here a few times.
Yeah, yeah.
We
I
met
was
before.
wondering if you were the Tommy that has it all. Are you? Yes. Did you send me the blues music? I don't know. I lost them. Well, I'm happy to see you, Tom. Yes. All right. We got Paul next to PK. Nice to see you, Pablo. Always a pleasure. Oh, here's the Tommy right underneath Tom. So Tommy just appeared. He's like a color splotch. He's got a. All I see is like an. I don't even. I'm colorblind, but I'll call it ochre. Mickey, the matriarch. Yes, a Madeira. A Madeira. Nice to see you, Mickey. Mickey is actually pulling all the strings, unbeknownst to most of us. Yeah. We got David B. Nice to meet you, David. Yeah. And if you can't be gentle on yourself, let others be gentle, yeah? Yeah. Don't take out that big whipping stick. Yeah, put it down. Yeah. Yeah, bro. Yes. Yeah. We got Connor. There he is. A man that's very happy to realize there is no self. Woohoo! Yes.
Thanks, bro.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you for your attendance. Nanette, there she is. She's alive with the spirit. Yes, she's got the candle. She's praying for all of us without uttering a word. That's very nice. Appreciate it. We got Reed. Hey, Reed, how are you, brother? Yeah, nice to meet you there. Oh, we got Alex and Jacob. The East Coast and the West Coast meet. Yes, yeah, there they are. Hey, West Coast, be nice to the East Coast. Yeah, all right. Stefan on having never left. Yeah. Oh, Christy L. Nice to meet you, Christy. And there's Carl. I always like to see Carl. Oh, Ruby, our emissary in Kansas, in Wichita. There she is. Yeah. We got Tom from New Hampshire. Keene. Yes. Nice place. I really like New Hampshire. The police didn't really like me there, but I loved it. It was very nice. Yeah. We have Kaiser. He's in LA now. We got Leah. There she is. This is how I met Leah. Prone on a couch. It's always good. Yeah. We got, Linda appeared, made an appearance there with Kurt. Here they are. You're looking like you remember that cult that was thinking there was a spaceship behind the sun? You're looking like two members that escaped the event. Are you wearing sneakers, the same kind of sneakers? I thought they wore certain sneakers. Yeah, there you go.
We did escape the event.
That's right. You can't kill that growth. It's still growing in Redondo Beach. All right. It's okay. So next time I come down, I gotta wear white. Yeah. All right. I got some t-shirts. All right. We got Lebowski. James Lebowski. Lebowski's one of my favorite characters of all moviedom. Yes. Yeah. I always love the scene where he tries to pay with a check for the half and half. That was pretty good. We got Kaiser. If anyone hasn't seen The Big Lebowski, you should check that movie out.
Beautiful.
It's a classic. Yeah. Yeah. We got Kaiser. Kaiser is driving very important people around in LA. Jeez. Why am I not in the back seat? No. Oh, she's driving Nina around. Oh, that's nice. Oh, so I drive a long way to drive Nina around, so there you go. We got Michael Stacy. There he is. He's the man of Madeira. Yeah. The Don Quixote of the Valley.
Thanks. I'm fabulous. Thank you.
Chasing windmills. Yes.
I'm going. Leave him now.
Remember, bro, there's nothing in the closet. Yeah. All right, we got Steve from the UK. Jack G, back to his normal appearance. I don't know where Jack G may be right now. Let's see. I don't think that's it, I think. So let's say goodbye to this one. Hey, thanks, everyone. Thanks, Kerry. Say hello to Judith. Wish her a happy birthday from Amelia and I. Yes?
Yes, yes.
It was nice to meet her son.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was a little because we were trying to get ready to do the Zoom with the live, so I was.
Oh no, and we had to bail too. There's so much going on right now for both of us. I'm working and we're doing all this stuff, so I try to get here as much as I can, and I'm always watching. So thanks.
Oh, you're welcome, bro. Yeah, stay in
Hey,
touch.
Ben, hit stop recording.
I'll hit stop recording.